we live a lot of our lives here on the air with you guys, sometimes alongside you, sometimes we share stuff, so, you'll get to know us better. Sometimes we share stuff because it relates, and we think we can help, a lot of different reasons. We've been doing this for a long time. I've been doing this since, 17, 18 years old. So I've been doing it for a long time. How old am I? 42 at this point?
Yeah.
So we do. We try to share a lot with you for different reasons. And so that's what we're going to do here. And I would just rip the Band-Aid off and just go right at it. That's what I would do.
Yeah. Well, so we share a lot of our lives, and I know listeners have walked alongside so much that we've been through. Both of my parents passing away, the adoption of children, the first year of the show, back in 2006, my first year on the show, I got married. And, I've been walking through something for the last couple of years that it's not a secret, but it's also something that we've kept pretty private so that we could heal as a family and take care of everyone involved. And so, yeah, talking about it right now isn't easy, but it feels right. Like this is the right time. And Ben and I, that's my husband. I don't talk about him much. He's always been a very private person. In fact, when I joined the show, he was in the Air Force, and we called him Air Force Guy because he didn't want his name.
We did?
On the radio. Yeah, when we first started dating, you were like...
I should have picked a different branch, though, to not be so dialed in on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he wasn't... Yeah, he's in the Air Force.
So Ben and I are getting a divorce, and this is something that was not made lightly at all whatsoever. In fact, it's like I said, it's been the last couple of years that we've spent a lot of time just working towards what is most loving for everybody involved and really most true to the people that we've become. And I know from my childhood and now as an adult how divorce is painful, stressful, it's emotional. And so really the well-being of our kids and co-parenting and learning how to co-parent in a way to show up as the best parents possible for our kids has been the top priority through all of this. And so I think that's what we've been working through. And I'm honestly I'm very proud of how we've, as a family, navigated this whole thing. And I guess it's hard to, say it. Again, it's not a secret to our people, but just now putting it out there just so I can show up authentically as myself in this new chapter of my life. And nobody wants something like this to happen. I mean, honestly, I never thought it would happen to me, and my younger self would have never allowed it.
What do you mean?
Well, thinking back to 2006, my first few years on the radio and marriage, I remember so many topics would come up, and I remember always saying divorce is not an option, and listeners would even call in, and they'd experienced more life than me. But again, I came from a divorced home, but I think that's why I held so tightly to that and ended up in a very legalistic environment for a long time. And I think that was something that was rooted in me that I couldn't see past. And I was like, that I will never do it. And I remember you and Lunchbox throwing out different scenarios about my husband potentially being in jail or doing this or that.
What if a head grows out of his butt?
Right.
We were throwing all kinds of stuff at her.
Right. And I would be like, not an option.
Right.
We'll not an option.
What if he killed 80 people?
Nope.
I love him.
Not an option. Yeah. And so I'm pretty sure it's my younger self that's been the most terrified of all of this. And so I have compassion for her and who I was then and who I was even 6 years ago. Like one of my dear friends went through a divorce and I didn't know how to support her. And that's what gets me right now. I mean, we've done the healing and in our own relationship, Ben and I both, and he's aware we're talking about this right now. And I think that's what I hurt for how I didn't know how to understand what other people might be going through, because the reality is you don't ever really know fully what someone is going through. And I wasn't able to be there for my friend, and I wasn't able to show up for her. And we recently, in the last 7 or 8 months, reconnected and were able to repair our relationship. And I was able to finally see, because what Ben and I have been walking through, what she was going through, and how because I didn't understand it, I had some, why can't you figure this out? Or a little bit of judgment in there that now I have fully released, thank goodness. And I'm thankful now that I'll be able to show up for people in a different way. And we wouldn't be where we are today at all in this process if it wasn't for the love and support from our family and friends that have walked alongside us with no judgment and just such encouragement and support, and wisdom and guidance from therapists. And I just feel like divorce brings up a lot of complicated feelings, shame being the number one thing. And so that's what we've been working on releasing. And I feel as though we're finally there. We've released ourselves from any stigma. And my hope in sharing this is really that anyone else walking through this type of loss will also be able to release any shame they feel around it, because you're not alone in what you're going through. And so that is where we are, and that everyone is doing well.
I was going to ask, like, how are you?
It has been it has been very hard. But how am I now? I feel like we're finally on the other side. Like, we weathered multiple storms at the same time, not even just this. There was a lot happening at once for our family that almost didn't seem like, how can this happen all at the same time? But now that we're on the other side of it, I see actually how divine each thing was. Like, one of the things had to happen for the next thing to be able to happen, and then for the next thing to happen. Like, and again, those are details that are close to our family. But I say that to also, encourage anybody else going through multiple hard things, is to, sure, you have to process and deal with it. You don't, but just somewhere, somehow start to process, okay, what does this make possible? And don't waste it. Don't waste what you've been through and linger in that hurt and pain. Like, if you can process and heal, then you can get to the other side and see what came from it. And for our family, so much has come from the last 2 years that actually we're now on the other side, better people.
What do you feel like you've learned about yourself?
Resilient is a word that comes to mind, which feels weird to say about yourself, but all of us, like, that were involved. Like, there was a time in probably 2021 that I didn't think I would do anything to myself. But there were times where if I'd be driving down the highway and I thought, okay, like, if I were to just get in an accident, that would be okay. Like, it was that hard. So resilient comes to mind, because we persevered as a family. We showed up for each other. We're a team. Ben and I both are a team. Like, we went to therapy about all of this, and mostly just to a lot of co-parenting, but us trying to figure out what was happening and where we were going to go and what we were going to do. And that was a year. We saw one couples therapist for a year every week. A lot of those were 2-hour sessions. There was a season where I would leave work and I had therapy for other things that were going on in our life. One of the things was intense, like 5 weeks, 3 hours a day. And that's where I would leave here and go do that. And it was heavy, and I know there was a time where I was absent from the show during some of that. And like you said, you've said many, many times before, if you're not in a right space, like, go take care of yourself. You don't have to be here. So I'm thankful for that. I mean, our work environment is part of that support that I'm talking about from family and friends. And again, the therapists, like, I say all that because it took work. You can't just come out on the other side of stuff like that without really digging deep. And it was heavy, and it's hard to do stuff like that, but we came out on the other side. And I feel as I can see the rainbow now. Like the storms have passed, and I know in life I'll encounter more storms for sure, but what we've walked through, I just don't think now I'll grip so tightly to the umbrella. Like I feel like I just was holding on to it and I couldn't see the rainbow. But now I just have different tools, and I have different life experience that is now, I think, gonna benefit me in this new chapter. And I'm just a different person from it all.
Yeah, you've been through a lot. It's been a pretty heavy 18 months or so, maybe 2 years.
Yeah, I think back, I mean, all of this is probably around 2020. And I know for a lot of people that happened to be the year that everybody's lives probably got a little crazy, but none of this has anything to do with COVID. But it all started that year, so it's just a lot.
Well, I'm proud of you. I love you. We love you. And like you and I have talked about many times, not even on the air, a lot of people go through their version of this, and you shouldn't feel alone, but I think it's something that can make you feel extremely lonely because you really don't hear a lot of people talking about it in a way like you do, or not talking about it at all except saying, this happened, on to the next.
Right. And this isn't, again, it's not something that was decided yesterday. This has been well over, like at least 2 years, well over a year in this decision. But we were taking care of our family first before it became a thing. And I think, yeah, I just want to be able to show up here in segments and like not have to dodge certain topics. And, you know, Ben and I are both, again, in a good place. Like when I say I'm proud of us, I really mean it, because it's not easy. And I hope that that's encouragement to anybody else going through something hard like this, is that hopefully, and I know not everybody's blessed with two people that are doing the work, and two people that are getting the healing, and two people that are wanting to continue the work to make it right. Because if you're in this and you're the only one doing the work and the other person's not, I can't even imagine. Honestly, cannot even imagine. And so my heart goes out to anybody that's in that situation. But I would hope if you're listening to this and you're in that and you may realize like, oh shoot, I'm not doing the work, I might be the person that's kind of making this super difficult. My hope would be that, you know, us talking about something like this might be that nudge to get the therapy, get the help, dig deeper, show up as a person that, you know, you can be proud of later that handled it well, and well for your kids. Like that's like for the last year, we have kept the kids in our house, and I know not everybody has this option, and it's going to transition soon. We'll start to rotate a week on, week off. We're doing 50-50 custody. But we had an apartment close by, and the kids would stay in the house and we would rotate. So every week for the last year, we've been packing bags midweek and switching. And that was important for us to do that so the kids could feel like they were stable in their home. And now they're involved in the process of their dad getting a new house. And we drive by and look at houses, and they're like, oh, can you get one with a basement? And, you know, so they're now involved, and they feel like they've got a little agency over this as well.
Well, they're also very lucky to have two parents that love them.
Yeah, and we do very much.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm proud of you for talking about it. It would have come up, and you're right, we had to dodge some stuff. And, you know, it's got to be tough to come on and go, young me was kind of uneducated, and this version of me is better educated, and I hope to help other people too. And that's what you did, and that's what you're doing. So, you know, I say it again, we love you, I love you. You know what? Worse things have happened to weaker people, but you'll get through this, be better for it, and help others and help them get through similar things as well. I have no doubt.
Yeah. Well, I'm able to come out and talk about it now because I feel like I am on that.
Yeah.
I've made it to that other side. It didn't seem right to come out any sooner than now.
Well, and also there are things to our listeners. We love 95% of you. 5% of our listeners we can't stand. But the 5% that want to get on social media and write like, Amy, we know, and like post stuff, there's a reason she can't share things. That it can be legal, it can be kids, it can be, there's a reason, literally. And you're the reason we don't like 5% of you. Because you want to get online and be like, Amy, we know we never see your husband in pictures. Amy, what does that even do? There's no reason. Amy's a real life human being.
Yeah, there's just
It sucks. I would get so mad when I see people like, we know. Well, yeah, of course. I think people knew, but they didn't get online and be like, because their lives were so worthless, they got to get online and like put other people's crap out there. Maybe 94% of your listeners I like. 6% I don't. But I get mad. But anyway, okay. Ray says we have to get out of this break.
It's a Bobby Bones show.